Hey everybody, welcome back to Ales and Insights. I'm glad you're here with me today. Today I want to share with you a couple of my favorites, my favorite beer, and one of my favorite Bible verses. So I had actually shot this entire video already and even edited it, but frankly it was a little stilted. I felt like I tried to get too technical with some of the beer description and maybe even some of the commentary on the scripture I wanted to share. So I'm doing it all over. I'm going to try to do it in closer to one take without so many jump cuts, and hopefully have an enjoyable time with you today. As I learn how to do this. This YouTube thing is a little bit harder than at least for me, than it looks. So let's get into it though. So today, for starters, I wanted to share with you what honestly I think is my favorite beer. And I've had several. So out of the many beers that I have tried, my favorite beer is this Trappistes Rochefort 10. Now, Trappistes Rochefort 10 is a Belgian quad, or quadruple as the full name, or quad for short. It's also sometimes the style is sometimes referred to as an apt, ABT. So a quadruple is, so in Belgium they often use numeric naming to kind of roughly correlate to how much malt they add into the beer. So you've got your double, you've got your triple, and you've got your quad. Well, a quad is typically very dark. It's very rich, sometimes spicy and complex in the flavor. There's usually a lot of added Belgian candy sugar behind the brew that helps draw out some higher ABV, or alcohol by volume. In fact, usually a quad ranges somewhere between 9% and 14% in alcohol by volume, so they can be pretty strong. They're typically a little more full-bodied and maltier than a double. But maybe a little bit more bitter a little bit less bitter and hoppy than a triple. So the name apt comes from a custom that exists in some breweries of naming their beers after the ecclesiastical titles that would be used within the monastery. So they might have a pater or father that would be one level, and then they might have a prior that would be another level, and then the abt is actually a Dutch word for the word abbot that would be used for the highest quality beer that the monastery brewed and correlated to the highest ecclesiastical rank within the monastery. So apt would be and a good example of that, well-known example, is a St. Bernardus Abt 12 that you may have heard of if you're familiar with Belgian beers, and that's certainly a beer that I plan to review in a future video. But today we've got the Trappistes Rochefort 10. Now, as the name implies, this is also a Trappist. So the style is quad, but it's a Trappist beer. So what does that mean? Well, a Trappist beer has to be brewed on the premises of a monastery by or under the supervision of the monks of that monastery, and the proceeds from it have to go to support that monastery and toward another charitable cause. So if it meets all of those criteria, it can qualify to be called a Trappist beer. Now, in this case, this is a Trappist. It's one of only 14 in the world as of January 2021, and you can tell that it's an authentic Trappist by this ATP hexagonal label on the bottle. If you see that authentic Trappist product label on a bottle, then you know it's one of the 14 Trappist breweries that are recognized in the world. So 6 of those are in Belgium, 2 are in the Netherlands, and then there's 1 each in England, Spain, France, Italy, Austria, and the United States of America. So we've got a Trappist quad that we're going to try today. Again, this is one of my favorites. So let me go ahead and open it and give it a shot, right? Now, this beer is actually one that is available in many countries. I remember seeing it in the United States while we were living there. It's fairly expensive there when it's an import, but it is worth it from time to time, I will tell you that for sure. So this pours with a nice tan, thick, persistent head that will leave lacing on the side of the glass as it resolves. And you can see that the color is a deep kind of red mahogany. and it's somewhat hazy. You can smell some caramel. It's made with some caramel and Pils malt, so you kind of get that dark roasted caramel malt smell. A little bit of toffee, maybe some dark fruits like plum or fig, a little bit of spice. It's got a beautiful scent to it. Let's give it a taste. It is so good. It's definitely got some sweetness from the Belgian candy sugar that they use to elevate the ABV. You definitely get some hints of caramel, of toffee, in the resolve, maybe even a little bit of coffee, and right at the end you get that hint of the high alcohol level that this drink has. It's definitely one you want to enjoy in moderation and when you've got some leisure time. Nothing to rush. But this is a beautiful beer. It's so complex, got some really rich, robust flavors to it, a very full mouthfeel to it. This is, in my mind, what beer should taste like. Cheers. All right, so there's a little bit about my favorite beer. I wanted to share with you one of the Bible verses that has resonated with me for quite some time. A favorite teacher of mine shared it with me many years ago, and it stuck with me as something that I think is wise for us all to kind of follow. So I wanted to share it with you. It comes from the book of Acts, and it's in the section of Acts that's chronicling Paul's missionary journeys, one of his missionary journeys. And at this particular point in the text, he has been in Thessalonica, which is in modern-day Greece, and there was some trouble that was stirring up there, and things were becoming dangerous, and so they actually sent him from Thessalonica to Berea. And when he got to Berea, the narrator of the book of Acts, the author of the book of Acts, notes something about the Bereans that I wanted to share with you today. And that's our passage from Acts chapter 17, verse 11. So we'll turn there real quick. Acts 17:11. So this is the verse where the Bible tells you not to trust anything I say. No, in all seriousness, it says, "Now these were more noble-minded than those in Thessalonica, for they received the word with great eagerness, examining the scriptures daily to see whether these things were so." So the Christians in Berea, or the people in Berea, they actually weren't Christians yet, they were being preached to by Paul, right? But the people in Berea were more noble-minded than those in Thessalonica. And why? Well, for two reasons. One, they received the word with great eagerness, or the King James Version says with all readiness of mind. And then two, they examined the scriptures daily to see whether those things were so. So I titled this video, Open-Minded Skepticism. And the reason is because both are important, right? When these believers, new believers in Berea were commended, they were commended first for being willing to learn, for being open to new truths. It's been said that the surest barrier to truth is the presumption that you already have it. If we close our mind and determine that we already know the things that there are to know, then we close ourselves off to any new learning and any new growth. So that's one thing, is having that open mind, being willing to consider new ideas and open to new learning and growth. The second thing was, though, that they took those new ideas, that new information that they were receiving, and then they went to a known source of truth to compare those things, to validate those things. They went to the scriptures that they had, which for them were the Old Testament scriptures, and searched those to test every new thing that they were hearing, and to validate whether or not that was true. So both are valuable traits. First, the openness to be able to receive new truth, and second, the diligence to dive into known sources of truth and think critically and make those comparisons to ensure that what we're learning is actually value added and can be relied upon. So that's Acts chapter 17, verse 11. Be open-minded, be open to new truth, receive the word with all readiness of mind, but I encourage you to search the scriptures yourself daily to determine whether these things are true. Now, it's worth pointing out, I think, that the Bible presumes that there is such a thing as absolute truth. We sometimes talk in our culture about my truth and your truth, but the Bible talks about God's revealed truth. He talks about the truth that God has revealed, chosen to reveal to mankind in our own language so that we can approach it. And that doesn't mean that we're going to have perfect understanding. In 1 Corinthians 13:12, Paul talks about that right now we see as in a mirror dimly. In the time that he wrote that, mirrors weren't made of glass with a backing with almost a perfect reflection, right? They were made from metal that was polished as well as we could polish it, and over time it tarnished, and even when it was brand new, it wasn't a perfect reflection of whoever was looking into that mirror. So that's kind of how our understanding is. We can increase our understanding, and we can bring our understanding closer to the reality of God's revealed truth, but it's going to be a little hazy and a little dim until we are face to face with Jesus. And that's what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 13:12. He says that, right now we know in part, but when he is perfect has come, we'll be known, or we'll know even as we are known, and we'll have knowledge in full. So there will be a day when we kind of have the blinders lifted. For now, it takes some diligent study to dive into known truth and try to bring our understanding in alignment with the reality of God's word. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I wanted to share with you one of my favorite beers, the Trappistes Rochefort 10, and one of my favorite verses, Acts 17:11. I hope that you have a blessed day. Thank you for joining me here. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Feel free to share these with somebody else if you think there's any value in it, and you think somebody might like it, whether they're interested in the Bible and some truths from God's word, or just some good beers. So with that, love God, love each other, and enjoy living. Have a great day, y'all. Cheers.